similar anyway. Then we're going to work together. That's why you see all these paper. Try to identify what do we know about climate change and to which extent we know what are the impact on women and men. Okay. What are the climate change adaptation and mitigation issues in your countries? And what we can do to promote gender equity in the climate change adaptation strategy. Okay, so this is the program for the day. Since we're a small group, maybe it will be even easier than what we planned before. So feel very comfortable to express your thought. Here I want to highlight something. Climate change is very technical vocabulary. Sometimes it's difficult for us. I'm an anthropologist. I don't know much about temperature and things. I know it's cold or hot and that's it. Okay, like many of us. But yesterday, like we've seen, is that the discourse and all this sector is monopolized by men. So they have their own interests, very technical thing, economic and all. Women have different point of view, okay? And that is fine. We don't have to think like men. We have to bring our own concern, okay? We think about our children. Will they have enough food tomorrow? Okay, we think about our mother, our father. Will they have the proper health services with the increased health problem? And this is fine that we talk about those things because very often this is forgotten. Okay, so also I want to say that climate change specialists, it's not really existing yet. Okay, it's too much a news topic. So that's fine, we're all learning. So if there's something you don't know, it's impression, feelings, you talk about that, that's fine. Okay, so be very comfortable to share your thought. So the first presentation will be by Rosana P. Mula. She's based in India. But she's Filipinos, so she has many hats. And she's going to talk about the impact of climate change in the dry land, isn't it?
We're not scoping.
Okay.
In the semi-arid tropics.
Okay.
Okay, so
you can be there and manage it. It's easier for you. Since we are a small group, you can even have a chair.
Right. Yeah, because I'm having cramps. Nagka-cramps yung pa ako. I don't know. I think I'm naka-miniskirt kasi. Okay, good afternoon to each and everyone. As said, we're quite few, so let's try to make the most out of it. If you know, I'm working with the International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics based in India. So let me just plug a little bit about the institution. We're one of the 15 centers of this consultative group for international agricultural research. So in the Philippines you have IRI, in India you have ICRISAT, in Syria you have ICARDA, and so other several organizations, and this is under the World Bank. Okay, so it has strong link with the World Bank. And I have to say that the most of these 15 centers are focused or do have projects on climate change, and of which one of the topics being discussed as well as on gender sensitivity and gender issues. Now, I'd like to point out earlier that in most of the presentations for the last 2 days, there have been strong mention of research and development in agriculture, but sad to say that there was not much discussion on it. And I think this is one opportunity, and I appreciate this, because then I'm able to articulate exactly what sort of activities is going on in these 15 centers, of which climate change is one of the topics. Okay? Oh, what happened? Okay. I won't discuss this. Sorry?
I have a question. Before your presentation, I want to say that we should consider the threats for the women in disasters. How or what factors has effects on women in disasters, as you know.
Yeah, yeah. It will come out. It will come out in the presentation, okay? So I won't deal much on this because this slide has been presented earlier and it's just simply saying to you that there are changes in temperature, sea level, and northern hemisphere snow cover. That has been presented 2 days back. Okay. Indeed, there is no doubt that climate change is the greatest challenge humanity faces. There is no contention on that. With the advent of satellite measurements as early as 1979, there are strong evidences of warming that are quite apparent in both in oceans as well as in landforms. Okay? Obviously, as most of the presentations have been mentioning, climate change results in devastating situations like heavy precipitation, more intense and longer droughts, and these have caused heavy burden on women, which you can see in a little while. In India, we have experienced effects of climate change, and I have to say that heavy rains in Indian metros are not normal, especially in 2006. Yeah, some of my colleagues from India would attest to that. Now, who then are the most vulnerable? That has also been tackled yesterday. Clearly, the answer is obvious. The developing countries are the most vulnerable because of inadequate technology, institutional capacity, know-how and education, and of course, largely financial capacity. It follows that impacts are worse. At this juncture, let me inform you that one of the most sensitive sectors affected by climate change is agriculture. There's no denial of that. And so, let me just focus to you now the research and development focus of ICRISAT, which is working in the semi-arid tropics. If you look at the entire world, most of which are affected really by lack of water or lack of moisture. And so these areas, the semi-arid tropics, is where 1/6 of the world population and where more than 500 million of the world's poorest of the poor resides. Okay? The SAT environment is basically very marginal. Climate is erratic, soils are very poor and infertile, and infrastructure like irrigation are inadequate or in most cases absent. In India, because of too much population, the burden is even worse. Okay? With this, ICRISAT's mandate in the semi-arid tropics has to be in sync with the topic of climate change. So we have crafted what we call operational research strategy to climate change. We have short-term to medium-term, which is addressing towards the provision of help to cope with current rainfall variability. We have medium to longer term, which is concerned with adapting our mandate crops to grow in a warmer environment. So we're working on 5 crops. We have pigeon pea, we have sorghum, we have groundnut, we have a chickpea, and we have pearl millet. So we're trying to do this. We're trying to do some work on these crops can be grown in warmer areas. And briefly, this is all about breeding. Okay, I won't build much on breeding, but I'm sure you know this, or crop improvement. But before explaining this further, let us see the environment of the South farmer. Okay. The South farmer of India is aptly described by this statement. He is born in debt, he lives in debt, and he dies in debt. That's how difficult the Indian farmer is. And this is because of interlocking constraints. He has to grapple with these constraints such as severe land degradation, erratic rainfall, poor infrastructure, and even unfavorable policies. There is also the problem on poor dissemination of improved technologies. ICRISAT has made some headway on providing a well-package of information that is readily understood and accessed by farmers. I have to say that in India in general, this is one of the biggest efforts being made by the government. Providing access to information, that's precisely, we even have what we call farmers' call centers now. And I'm very happy. This is really a big thing in India. And maybe this is something worth emulating or worth considering in whatever declarations we're making.